The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
It's time for basketball, and Uber Eats is dropping deals on game day favorites to keep you locked in on the action. Like when you're craving a buzzer beater, but also buffalo wings. Or when an upset makes you want to ugly cry into a pizza. And right now, Uber Eats has game day deals from Burger King, Buffalo Wild Wings, KFC, and hundreds more local favorites. So you can keep your eyes on the ball and your hands on a burger. Order now, only on Uber Eats. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
Hey everyone, it's Matt,
And this is Lucas,
and this is Thanks for Playing.
the podcast where we break down the most iconic video games the world has to offer.
Ho! Woo!
Someone's
I'm
excited.
excited. We got what is effectively the trio these days. I feel like we're the most consistent people on the podcast. Milkman Chambers, how you doing, baby?
I'm milky. It's Monday night. We're recording, and I'm fucking sleep deprived. And my
sleep
body
deprived.
hurts.
Bro, I'm a little sleep deprived too, and my body also. Like, Chambers, we're in sync today, baby.
Dude, yeah, bonding over body pain.
Yeah.
I just
How much
stayed
sleep
up
did you get
too
last
late.
night? Just too late.
You were playing Overwatch too late, is what it is, right?
No, I only played for like an hour, and then I was watching a TV
Dude,
show.
I'm not
with
gonna
my
lie,
wife.
Chambers. Every time I see you playing Overwatch on Discord, I'm like, man, like what the fuck? Like, I
This
just
guy
don't
really,
understand.
this guy really went all the way
Like,
back in.
really is just sitting here playing Overwatch on a fucking Sunday night. I just can't believe it. You
in
know, like,
2025.
play like Disco Elysium or like anything.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
dude. What happened to like journeying into really interesting
Outer Wilds, like literally
games?
anything.
Yeah, Outer Wilds. You were into
Yeah.
that for a while.
Damn,
get it,
I didn't
man.
know I was an asshole.
You're on,
for
dude.
this.
I have
Matt's
everyone
deeply
on
affected.
Discord on watch. Honestly, I'm like, I need to. Next time I see I'm at Mickey's house or he's over, I'm gonna go into his phone and turn off his, like
Offline, invisible.
the do not
Yeah.
disturb or invisible thing on Discord, just so I can know whenever he's fucking locked into League.
Yeah, I don't like to. I like to be honest about my habits.
Yeah.
Like,
and I like
if
to
I'm on-
keep tabs, so I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
How
I'm
would you
not-
guys feel if I finally went off invisible?
I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because you know, if you're playing a game and you just don't want to talk to me, I get it. Like, you know, if I invite you to a game and you're like, no, I'm just gonna play RuneScape, that's fine. I get it. I do it to other people.
Hey, hold up real quick though. The new RuneScape survival game that's coming out.
I'm lukewarm on that one.
I think it's gonna be. I think it looks sick. I think it looks like Valheim but RuneScape, and I'm here for it.
People don't even play like the normal RuneScape right now. So why?
So I
like,
know, old school.
the non-old school one. So
Yeah,
they
but this is like a
don't.
totally new genre though, is the thing, or like a new type of RuneScape game. Though. Like, it's basically just Valheim, from what I can tell, set in the RuneScape universe, and I find that very attractive.
I will play it.
Yeah.
I will play it, Matt. We will play it for sure.
Yeah, put in some time for the
I-
pod.
The thing that I love about RuneScape is not like what will be in this game, but I'm about it. I'll still play it for sure.
Appreciate that. Oh man, boys, we got a fun one today. Mount Rushmore, which, man, I cannot remember the last time we did a Mount Rushmore episode. Let's start with that.
I know. Yeah, it's been a while.
Kind of insane. We got a Mount Rushmore of video game soundtracks. But really
Yeah.
quickly before we jump into that, Chambers, you been playing Overwatch? Anything else lately?
no, not really.
It's like an interrogation.
No. I always I see Disco Elysium on my desktop, and I'm like, I know I should jump into that because I know they're gonna ask me about it
Yep.
on the next.
Also,
episode.
Chambers, like Disco Elysium is like covering themes of like classism and like communism is just straight
No,
up talked about
I
the
know
whole
how,
entire
like,
time.
interesting politically of a game it is, and just the gameplay of it. I don't know. Sometimes I love the grind of getting better at a multiplayer game. I like seeing the rank go up.
What's your rank in Overwatch right now?
Oh, dude, don't ask me that. I'm so as a tank, it's different by role. As
Okay.
a tank, I'm a plat 3 or 4, and then dude, and I'm silver in the other 2
Okay.
roles. I'm silver like 2 or silver 1, and then silver 4 as a support. I'm not a good support.
Okay.
I'm
That's okay.
I'm actually reading right now. I think it's called Play Nice. It's like the Blizzard Tell All by the one video game journalist author. So
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to talking about that a bit. And I'm shitting on Overwatch once I finish up the book. So I know that's where it's going already.
Hey,
I can tell.
It's a solid game right now at this current moment.
I believe it. Actually, I don't believe it. No, like not even a little bit. But that's not the point. I'm playing Red Dead. I actually finally this past weekend, I really had finally some time to kind of sink my teeth into it. And I think I put in probably maybe 6-8 hours, something like that over the weekend. And it's really, really sick.
Hell yeah, dude. That's a good sesh.
I am having a fun time with it. I love just wandering around, getting lost, running into strangers, playing poker. Like it's everything I kind of want in a video game, like rolled into one. Playing it on my PC, and it is beautiful. And I'm excited to just put more time into that game over the next while, really, because I think this is a game I could probably be playing kind of on and off for, the next 6 months. Honestly, I'm in really no rush to beat it. So, it's a good time.
Is poker in Red Dead like it's just straight up poker, right? Like
Yeah, the only difference from what I can tell is they don't burn cards on like the flop, turn, in the river, which is I don't know why it bugs me. It bugs me.
I mean, it's a video game. It's random.
Yeah,
I think it's because they don't need to.
Yeah, but otherwise
I get
it's
your point.
just poker. Yeah. There was one moment, I forget why, that there was a pot that I was like, oh, we have the same hand. It should have been chopped, but for some reason it went to the NPC and I couldn't figure out why. I don't know if maybe there's like suits or something that I don't realize that are in effect there, but yeah.
Sorry to hear that, Matt.
Thank
Damn,
you.
that's-
Yeah, I lost like it was like a 20-cent pot. That's big
Damn.
back then.
That was a lot of money back then.
It was.
Damn.
Yeah. What are you playing, Lucas?
I mean, besides RuneScape, nothing. I actually started White Lotus over the weekend, season 1. I'm on episode
Oh, nice.
6.
You're in for a treat. It's great.
Yeah,
Right?
Katie and I were binging it. She's watched season 1, but she hasn't watched season 2 or 3 yet. So I decided I was just gonna power through season 1 and getting through. We'll watch 2 and 3 together after that. So I'm playing a little bit of catch up, but thoroughly enjoying the show.
Yeah.
It's like it's uncomfortable in a lot of ways. Like a lot of like when some characters interact with certain characters, I'm just like, ooh, this is gonna like really make me wince. Like this whole conversation is just gonna like kill me a little.
Isn't
bit.
the manager great though?
Dude, he's the best character easily.
Yeah, he's
like
fun.
the actor is like, oh man, he's so solid.
That's
and,
the
like,
guy that played Frank in Last of Us.
Okay, that's who that
Oh,
is.
it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Okay, awesome. Yeah,
didn't recognize him at first. Beard does a lot.
Yeah, he is honestly incredible. Like that character is so Armand. He's like so diverse. Like compared to the other characters who are kind of like caricature-y, Armand is like kind of everything. He's like holding. He actually holds like the whole show together, in my opinion. And like, yeah, he's so good. I just watched this you both have seen season 1, right?
Yeah.
We're all
seen
caught
every
up.
episode.
Well, spoiler for anybody listening that you could skip ahead like 30 seconds or a minute. I just finished the episode last night where he's like trying to have sex with his Dylan, and they walk in and he's like eating his ass. Like the position is he's eating his ass over the desk.
Yeah,
like
because
that
he was
was
doing him
crazy.
drugs.
Yeah, but it was funny because like the way it's shot and the way it's done, it's like, oh man, they're totally gonna walk in on them boning, but like you don't quite. The position
It's like
they
a
chose
funnier version of it.
yeah, just like his face is just in his ass. Oh man, yeah, that was pretty great. So, yeah, really enjoying it. I'll give you guys my thoughts when I'm fully caught up.
I mean, when you're all caught up on the full series, we can do a little review, maybe even.
I'm down.
Turn to
We
the
also have
ringer.
Last of Us 2 coming up. So, Last of Us season 2 coming up.
When is
Yeah,
that?
put that on the
drop?
count.
Last of Us?
That's actually dropping in like 2 weeks. I think April 13th. So we should put that on the content calendar, Matt.
Oh fuck. Okay.
Yeah, we
I'm
forgot about
excited
that one. Yeah, and just before we dive into this particular Mount Rushmore episode, we're trying to bring in like all sorts of content back into the mix. I think we've been really big on like topical episodes and obviously our game reviews, but we're trying to really like dive back in more to fun special episodes. Like this Mount Rushmore of video game soundtracks, for instance. So if anybody in the Discord wants to ever just shout out suggestions of fun topics or drafts or, you know, a TV show you want us to review like Last of Us, just, you know, we have the Discord for a reason. Right, Matthew?
That is right. And everyone, as a reminder, if you do want to hop in our Discord, you can find us at thanksforplaying.live. That's our website. You can find a link to the Discord there, as well as our YouTube channel. Or if you want to check out our social media handles, you can go to TikTok or Instagram or Twitter at TFP Podcasts. That is at TFP Podcasts with an S at the end. Come check it out. It's a good time. Join the Discord. It's the best place to reach myself, Hot Mickey, Hylette, Chambers, Lucas. We have fun in there. We kind of talk about anything and everything, and we got a fun, growing community that we can't wait for y'all to be a part of. But without further ado, let's jump into our Mount Rushmore video games and soundtracks. And I gotta, on that note,
Mount
how
Rushmore
crazy
of
is the
video
day? How crazy is the day we do the Mount Rushmore of video games? Whenever, like, in 30 years, when this podcast finally ends. That'll be our final episode.
Mount Rushmore of video games.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we'll do like a top 100 count. We'll do like a stupid like top 200 video games of all time countdown. It'll just be like a 4-hour long super episode.
Fuck with that.
Yeah.
We'll have guest appearances. MC Fried will come back. It'll be great.
30 years from now, one day.
Mount Rushmore of video game soundtracks. I gotta say, I am... A lot of times on this podcast, you know, we talk about how important soundtracks are to gaming. And, you know, I think one of the reasons it is just how much a song or the thought of a song can bring you back to a time in life or to a memory that you associate with a game, a fun memory, a sad memory, something that impacted you. And man, even just like rolling, you know, I was just kind of scrolling through some of our episodes today, just trying to remember what are some of the more like soundtracks that we've listened to that I'm not already thinking of that have really impacted me. And just like going through these and just kind of like re-listening to some of the soundtracks and like kind of rehashing those memories. It's like so insane how much music, not just in video games, but in any context, can like really bring you back in life and just like set the tone of the video game you're playing and kind of like set the mood on stuff. It's really mind blowing.
I think what for me, what's really awesome about video game soundtracks compared to like other things is you just live in them for longer than most soundtracks for things, right? So like, I mean, a movie could have a really incredible score and a really great soundtrack, but for the most part, you're in a movie for, you know, maximum 2.5, 3 hours, right? So you can always say like, okay, I really liked all the music in this movie and the score was really great, but compared to most video games are going to be longer than 2.5 hours, 2.5, 3 hours. So you just like simply live with video game soundtracks for longer, and like, and the way you consume a video game over a long period of time, similar to like a TV show or like a book, like it's kind of equivalent. Like you'll play a video game for several weeks if it's a single player game, you know, play it for several months if it's like certain multiplayer games. But these soundtracks really get to become embedded into your like conscious, like they just become so embedded in your mind. So that's one thing that like I think sets video game soundtracks apart from your standard like really great movie score, really great movie soundtrack. And of course, books don't have soundtracks, but you consume them for as long of a period of time, if that makes sense. And I've just always felt like soundtracks are just one of the most. They've become, I think, over the years, a real point of pride for a lot of video game developers, and like a lot of composers are like very upfront about like composing video games, and like a lot of the guys I'm going to be shouting out here today are like, you know, real like actual musicians that also go and score video games and create an original soundtrack. And it just wasn't always like that. So it's just cool that we've gone so far with video game soundtracks. It's become such a respected medium.
Agreed. Chambers, you have anything you want to add on how fucking awesome music is?
I think about how like sound is. I'm not a psychologist. I don't remember.
So Chambers gonna say some crazy shit. Sound,
but
is
it's like
vibration.
As far as all of our senses, it's the one that triggers memory the best.
Well, besides smell.
Besides smell triggered. I know that like
smell triggers memory the strongest, I think.
All right. Well, you can't smell a game, so I think of like those clips of like people with dementia that like hear some song from when they were like 12 or whatever, and they smile. This is gonna be us with the Donkey Kong soundtrack or something. When we're like 80. It's able to trigger like moments in time better than I think like any other aspect of these experiences we had. Not just the pull on nostalgia as a point of why a soundtrack is good, but that's why we love games, is the memories that we create, and there's no better way of calling back a memory of something like this than its soundtrack.
Yeah,
Hard to agree.
I agree. And yeah, I mean, I think I want to spend time later in the episode like really shouting out some of my big honorable mentions. I think there's just so much. As I was like going through and trying to make my Mount Rushmore, I just could not pick 4 like video game soundtrack.
Same.
Like there's so much that's going to
so
be left
tough.
off of my particular list. I'm sure you guys are the same. So I think our like honorable mentions segment is just going to be pretty bonkers. But I think we're going to really be talking through like a few pieces of like key criteria. Like overall kind of music quality, I think is obviously forefront. But like cultural impact, I think is really, really important. Like it's hard to imagine the main Mario theme sounding any different, right? So there's just like, you got to give a lot of credit to the original Super Mario Bros. Video game and Koji Kondo for like creating that particular soundtrack. And 2, I want to think about like how well it enhances gameplay as like something. And I also want to think about like how intentional composers are with like understanding the video game and composing to the video game. I feel like what's awesome, and this has always been the case, but I think it's hit the same level as movies in the last decade or so, where composers like understand the story of a movie before they actually start composing for the movie typically. And I think a lot of video game composers have gone that direction as well, where they're like really digesting what the story's about. I'm thinking of something like Outer Wilds, Matt, was like my first kind of thought on this one. Yeah, and like the composer of Outer Wilds like really made a solid attempt to be like, he really thought about what the game was and like what the story was before he actually went in and composed that game. But anyway, and then also talking through like influence on future games, and of course, big one, replayability outside of the game itself. And for the general purpose here, I really want to leave out licensed soundtracks. Are you guys okay with that? Do we feel that, I'm talking like the Tony Hawks of the world, where like the game's soundtrack is like licensed music that you could just find out in the world.
Yeah, I'm.
What about stuff that was produced for it, but like from a artist, but it's not?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
Like if 50 Cent made a song for 50 Cent Blood in the Sand.
All right, hold on.
I don't know if he did that.
Did you just pull that out, Chambers?
I don't actually know if he made a song for that game.
All right. I'm actually changing one of my things just from that, but that's okay because
I'm curious of what it was, Matt.
It was probably FIFA. That's probably what it was.
Yeah, okay.
No, bro, I get pissed when I hear the FIFA soundtrack.
Okay,
Matt, I just think of losing 3-0 to online bullshit.
Matt, one of my coworkers, and Bobby, I know he listens to the podcast, but I told him what I was recording here today, and he was like, "Oh, you should talk about the FIFA soundtrack." And I was like, "Isn't it all licensed music?" He's like, "Yeah, but they pick bangers." Or like he was trying to tell me that it's real. Is it that good?
It's known as like, out of those types of games, the best. It's like a lot of like indie pop music and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of like Foster the People and shit like that. At least
Pumped Up Kicks.
Yeah, Pumped Up Kicks is actually on a FIFA game, on like FIFA 13 or whatever.
20. Yeah, I was gonna say 14.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. Okay, so Bobby wasn't capping. All right, respect.
But okay, I have a question about the licensed game thing. What if maybe there's like one licensed song in it, but there's also like the majority.
This isn't a draft. It's your
I'm not going to be hard ass on the rules. I'm just don't pick the Tony Hawk 2 soundtrack.
No,
I don't think any of us did.
I didn't do that.
I think that'd be a disservice to what we're trying
and
to
on that
here.
note too, for anyone that's unfamiliar with the Mount Rushmore, it's not like a draft where we're really competing, although I'm sure we will argue who had the best, but this is just our personal top 4. If there's overlap, that's fine, that's allowed. Just kind of our top 4 soundtracks.
It's a celebration.
It's a celebration.
It's
more than-
no competition here. All right, should we go? There's not really a draft order here, but Matt, like I just want to hear some of your guys's. Matt, you want to kick us off here?
Yeah, well, I'll just start off really quickly actually with my kind of just honorable mentions just to round through, because there were quite a few. Well, not quite a few, but
Should we
some I
do
definitely wanted to shout out.
Should we do honorable mentions after, or what do you think? We could just fire.
We can do it after. That's fine.
Okay, let's do it after.
Yeah. I'll start. I'm going to go ahead with a game that we have played for the podcast. Actually, all the games we're going over today, or at least for me, are ones that we have played explicitly for the podcast. I'm going for the Kingdom Hearts soundtrack, which Dragoon, shout out to you. You guessed that a mile away. And Dragoon, I did also listen to some of the World Ends With You soundtrack today.
Me too.
And, it is, in fact, a bop. Twister is great. But, I think for me on a personal level, Kingdom Hearts is like one of the first truly big franchises I really dove into when I was younger. And just being like, a 10-year-old and hearing Sanctuary or, everything from Utaru Hikaru to Dearly Beloved, composed by, I believe their name was Yoko Shimomura. It leaves such an impact on a young 12-year-old, or not even, I was younger than that when we first probably played these games, 9 or 10. And it still can truly impact me today. Even at work regularly, I'll listen just to Kingdom Hearts music or Kingdom Hearts lo-fi. And the music just so kind of like seamlessly blends together. Just, the whole thing with Kingdom Hearts is light versus dark. And it just so cleanly, simple and cleanly blends together those kind of themes. And it's just so recognizable, and it's been kind of meme to death as well. Like, I don't know, like about you, Lucas, but sometimes when I'm scrolling through just like the TFP TikTok, I'll get random just like Kingdom Hearts memes, and I'm just like, yes.
Yeah.
And really, Shimomura has been on some other games as well, notably like Street Fighter 2. I had it written down. What else here? Give me one moment. Street Fighter 2, Super Mario RPGs. She's done stuff for that, but her work on Kingdom Hearts is really what kind of, I guess, propelled her into kind of like a legendary status and to kind of like stardom. And I think what's awesome about this game is it has like very kind of thoughtfully, beautifully crafted like pieces like Dearly Beloved and other things, and then it also has a lot of the more kind of, I guess, poppy, upbeat stuff like Simple and Clean or Sanctuary from Utaru Hikaru, which is just like really kind of gives it the more modern feel as well. So
yeah, Sanctuary was the one from the commercial, right?
Yeah, it's like when you walk.
Yeah,
no, that's Simple and Clean.
No, that's Simple and Clean.
Sanctuary is the closing one, but
yeah,
bangers,
iconic for sure. No, I'm with you, Matt. I mean, what I love about the Kingdom Hearts soundtrack, and I've played 1 and 2 and Chain of Memories, and then had a cultural osmosis of the other ones. But I think Kingdom Hearts is great because it has it's like so emotional. Like every song actually feels like it's like really trying to hit some kind of like emotion through it, whether the emotion is like urgency and danger, or it's like a soft moment of like genuine care or love or friendship, that kind of thing. And I always felt like Kingdom Hearts music was always the best at hitting a lot of that stuff. And Square Enix, Squaresoft has always had a really great reputation for music, and it was always cool for them to bring all that into Kingdom Hearts. Is no longer a new franchise, but it was new at a certain point, and it was always cool for them to bring that energy into something that wasn't Final Fantasy when they started doing some of these when they started doing Kingdom Hearts. But
very replayable too, to kind of at any point. Yeah
I agree.
It's almost so intensely emotional, and it's really sincere, trying to do that as much as possible. That
that's right.
That definitely makes for it to be memeable and everything, but it almost, maybe because of just the lifespan of the game, that it's kind of come back around, and it's it's gone through the cycle where it was you're crying to this when you're 12 playing the game or whatever, and then it's a meme when you're 19, and now it comes back around and you still appreciate the emotion of the soundtrack.
Yeah. The like you push past through like the cynicism of this of like looking back at the soundtrack and feeling like, oh, maybe I'm too old for this, but now it's like, okay, this is great. Or maybe you never felt that way, Matt.
As a diehard fan, I was always like, this is fucking peak.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
I never doubted.
I saw a meme that was like simple and clean, and it was like a raw like studio version of it, and it was just like when every like 10-year-old became like a man, or it was I forget what the caption was, but it was just like the most life-changing sound for like everybody. Yeah. I do like the song from the commercial is still solidly in my head, which I think it's the intro to Kingdom Hearts 2.
Let me look at it.
I'm almost positive that it's like the
is it the Kingdom Hearts 2 like trailer commercial or the first one?
Yes, the Kingdom Hearts 2 commercial that was really big on TV. I think it's the intro song to the video game. Like it's like the long cutscene intro that like recaps the first game essentially.
The one for Kingdom Hearts is for sure simple and clean.
Right.
I'm not sure what. Let me see Kingdom Hearts 2.
We could move forward, Matt. And then am I
Yeah.
right?
Sanctuary. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that great song, incredible song. Okay, I'll go next, and then I'll let Chambers jump in. Honestly, my number one here, just it has to be Chrono Trigger, which we've played for the pod as well.
Holy see, this is what I mean, bro. There's so many good games.
There's so many. Yeah, I almost like forgot it. I was like writing my list, and I was like, shit, I can't not.
I straight up
here.
forgot that.
I Chrono Trigger is like especially important for me, just because it was like I was playing that game when I was really young, and Producer Sam, like I would watch Producer Sam play that game when we shared a bedroom when I was like 5 years old and he was like 10 years old. And he'd be playing the game, and like I would just be the little brother watching him. And just the soundtrack is legitimately legendary. Like it's the composer that was working on it, who there's actually 3 composers credited for Chrono Trigger. There's Yasunori Mitsuda, there's Nobuo Uematsu, and there's Noriko Matsueda. And Nobuo Uematsu is like kind of the godfather of like he's like a legend as well, because he is like the Square Enix like in-house composer that did a lot of the early Final Fantasies, and then worked on just a lot of the Square, like basically he's worked on like every Final Fantasy as the composer. And Yasunori Matsuda was the composer for Chrono Trigger that also was helped by Nobuo Uematsu later on. But the original composer, like literally like almost, he like worked himself nearly to death, like making the soundtrack. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but like he worked himself to the point of exhaustion for the soundtrack, and was working like, he basically wasn't sleeping for months at a time, like trying to like finalize his soundtrack. And then Nobuo Uematsu had to come in and like help him kind of round it out and finish up a few tracks on Chrono Trigger. But just like the orchestrated like nature of the soundtrack and how epic it feels, even though the game is actually only like a 10-hour, 12-hour experience, and even though like it's on the Super Nintendo and it's all pixel art, this was just like the era where they were able to actually like make the big game, and like they were able to take like a giant swing. Because I feel like I've said this before, like before this Super Nintendo era, you had like the NES era and the Atari era and arcade games, but like those games were primitive by like even by the standards back then, our standards. Like they just couldn't do a lot of the things that they wanted to do. And those things were like create a story, like have like an epic video game soundtrack, like develop characters, and like actually have like some substance in the video game. And I've always felt that Chrono Trigger was one of the early instances of them going like, okay, let's really go for it. Let's create a really interesting, really cool, somewhat complex like story for this video game, and let's like throw all of our resource at like character design and music and all this stuff. And it's just, they nailed it. And I've always felt like the Chrono Trigger soundtrack is one of the best video game soundtracks ever. I felt that way back then, and I still feel that way now. And it'll go on forever. It's the stuff of legends is like the only way I could put it. From like the boss music to like the final, like the intro music, and like the final boss music, just like thinking about the game, like the beginning of it is like nice and like it's kind of gentle and like somewhat orchestrated, and by the end of the game when you're fighting the very final boss, it's like a straight up sci-fi synth track. Like, oh man, yeah, some of the best stuff is in there ever.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't play the game, but I will say that this is one of the few games that I listen to the soundtrack to a game that I have not played because the soundtrack's that good.
What are some songs?
Fuck.
I don't know the name. I just throw on like the whole soundtrack, and
okay, hell yeah.
It's like one of those like where I'm just working on the computer and I'll have it on as background.
Yeah, love it.
Scala's theme, baby, so fucking good.
Oh yeah, that's a good song. That's a fucking amazing song. Chambers, what do you got?
All right. I'm gonna go with a layup for my first one. A nostalgic pick from my childhood as well. I'll go with Halo 3. This is
hell yeah.
Many would say the apex of the Halo series, and I think we can all hear. We've all sung the main menu music of this game in a bathroom or in a shower, with friends,
with homies.
Yeah, we've seen it's become a meme. Beyond even that, like the entire soundtrack is like incredibly epic, and it's as big as the game was culturally at the time. There's a huge orchestra. There's like guitar coming in at various moments. It's a game that so many people played because of how successful it is that I think there's a lot of like shared memory in a lot of the sounds. Like I think of the final mission where you're trying to get this warthog onto the ship to survive.
Dude.
Like
so
we
sick.
all remember the trying to make this jump. That's fucking epic. And I don't know, I've been thinking about how the Halo series kind of mirrors like the American culture, and how the trilogy was like all through the 2000s basically, and Halo's a very like oorah, like it's you're playing as planet Earth, but it's really like the United States, the Marines, you're a super soldier that's like very American. And this game came out in 2007, right before the crash, like peak 21st century American excess. This game like took multiplayer gaming by storm. It completely took over culturally in a way that it's been hard to replicate since in console gaming, just because of the nature of the ecosystem. But this was kind of like that era, like encapsulated, and I think that the soundtrack is as big and epic and in excess as that time was. And in that, I also want to shout out Halo 3 ODST. I know that's a separate game as well, but that's a very dark, jazzy, beautiful soundtrack in its own. Yeah,
that one's super underrated as a soundtrack.
Yeah, and that came out a few years later when, we're having some economic downturn.
When we lost the house.
Yeah, we lost the house. That mortgage was not as solid as we thought.
And the Halo. So holy shit, Chambers, we got to get a YouTube video together of like your whole thesis here.
Yeah,
Halo mimicking American exceptionalism into like American recession.
Yeah, with the Halo series. Yeah, because then Halo spins out of control, and we try to make it happen again, and it just is not happening.
Yeah, we tried to make Halo great again, and then it hasn't been.
Fuck.
No.
I was like, how are we gonna tie that in? I was wondering.
Make Halo great again.
Side note: the Halo 3 ODST trailer, like the live action trailer they did, genuinely is probably the best live action video game trailer. I think it is live action, right? Yeah. It's not
I don't think they've done it. I don't know if that list is very big, is it?
Yeah, there's probably only like outside of Halo. I don't know what other games have even done that.
There's a really good Metro one, Metro 2033.
Oh, okay.
yeah. I
I
remember
think there's
that
an
one.
Assassin's
Yeah.
Creed one if I remember correctly.
I remember
could be wrong, though.
I think I remember that one too.
There's some good ones out there. We'll have
Yeah.
to. That'll be an episode for another day. The best live
Love it.
action trailers.
Uh, I'll go now. Well, it's not. Should we just go Snake or whatever? So should I go now, or should Chambers go twice? I don't know how we're doing this.
I'll just go.
Just go, Matt.
Let's do clockwise. So
Okay.
go,
Yeah.
Matt.
I kind of the antithesis of everything Chambers just described as far as like a soundtrack. I'm going with Katamari Damacy's.
Oh,
Dang, that was on mine
baby.
too, Matt. Love it.
Yeah. Everything, feel free to chime in too, Lucas. Everything about this game is just
Bonkers.
fun and bonkers and colorful and crazy. And the score that goes with it and the music is so in tune with that. It's this like fun, weird, funky, like kind of J-pop, jazz, like disco, whatever thing that they have going on. And it's just so incredible. And it's become like this cult soundtrack. And I'm not even joking. Like even before we recorded this podcast, just I think, like last week, I was literally listening to just K Sarah Sarah and some of the other stuff, the Katamari Damacy soundtrack, just because it is just straight up that good of music. Like I was just listening to it while I was cooking the other day, like it's just something I would listen to casually. And it kind of really just established, I think, how weird video game and music can be, and not weird in like in a way that's just weird for the sake of being weird, but weird and still incredible and exciting and new and not repetitive. And the whole game is weird. The music's weird but beautiful. Miyake is a legend. And I just think it's like one of the best video game soundtracks ever, period. And
Yeah.
I just have so many good memories of it too, because for me, this is one of the games that my cousin Johnny had actually introduced me to. It was actually on the podcast a few times. And I don't know, I just always tie like that memory to like kind of family in that way too, or the memory of the music to family.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I feel
same
that.
with my sister. Yeah.
Katamari Damacy is one of the best video game soundtracks. Period.
Yeah.
Period. Like straight up.
You could play it and people wouldn't even know it was a video
They
game
would
soundtrack.
not. If you heard that like at a party in LA, you'd be like, "Oh, this guy's this what is this?
This guy
He's a
knows good
banger right
music."
here." Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, whoa, this jazz music is really cool." Like, yeah, and the composer or one of the composers, Miyake, he worked with like a number of different artists, from what I understand, to like kind of make the soundtrack work. And there's like, I mean, there's a lot. Like one of my favorite tracks off Katamari Damacy is a song called "Cherry Tree Times." It's literally like a children's choir mixed with like an orchestra and like this crazy cello. It's like that song is like unbelievable. And like I love how this game soundtrack fits the game so well because it's so eclectic, and the game itself is like such a weird eclectic game. And another fun fact, Matt, did you know that Miyake also has worked on the Tekken 8 soundtrack?
Oh,
Yeah.
Fuck.
So this guy's got range, bro. Because the Tekken 8 soundtrack,
He
the Tekken 8
knows
soundtrack
ball. He
is
knows
also
ball.
pretty eclectic. So,
yeah.
all things considered. So, yeah, no, I love this game, Matt. I'm so glad you picked it. I'm jealous you picked it because I had it actually as number one when I was writing down great video game soundtracks.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right. Well, I think
shall I
we're
go
on
next?
You next, big dog.
Do it.
I'm gonna go with I'm just gonna go with Undertale for number 2.
I have that on mine too.
Yeah, Undertale has some of the best video game music ever as well. It's one of those ones where like it's very video game music as well. Like I feel like the Undertale stuff is so unlike Katamari Damacy, where it could be like a soundtrack. Like if someone just threw that on at a party, you it's just good party music, whatever. But Undertale is like very clearly video game music. Like it's beeps and like, it's very lo-fi in terms of like intentionally kind of made to be like Super Nintendo era like levels of engineering for the music. But and the musics are usually like 60 to 90 second loops of music at like the long end. But everything about like Undertale, like every zone has its own like iconic kind of track that's going on. I'm thinking of like the core track, Matt, the waterfall track, or even the ruins, which is just like
I have
absolute
listened
banger.
to Waterfalls that's specifically on repeat probably for like upwards of 2 hours before just like, like the zone working or like doing whatever.
It's so good. But even the fighting, like the battle music,
Megalovania,
Yeah,
Death by
yeah,
Glamour, like, yeah, I mean, just so iconic, and the fact that it's all composed just by one guy, Toby Fox, is just like, you know, one of the goats of all time, and all he had to do was make one game, and he doesn't have to do anything else.
He doesn't have to do
It's just
anything
like-
else the rest of his life. Yeah,
Yeah,
one guy.
so insane, and I mean, I think too, just as a game culturally, you know, Undertale has made such a impact. I mean, there's literally a copy of it given to the Pope as like a gift from YouTube. It was the thing with Matt Pat, the guy from Game Theory. I forget the exact details, but he literally gifted a copy of Undertale. Not sure how he got a hard copy of Undertale. I don't know if he just gave him a USB drive, but anyways,
That's so funny.
Thing for another day. But it's like, and I think what I love about it too is just how much the fandom has jumped onto the music. Like, there's not really as many like probably original covers with Katamari Damacy as there is for Undertale, or people adding lyrics to songs where there weren't lyrics before, you know. So many like fan animations being made with the music as the background, you know, all these things. And I think what makes it really too special just for the game in general is the music kind of adapts as you play. Like, there might be different versions of a song if you've taken like the genocide path
that is
or
always
whatever
really
it
cool.
is. So yeah, truly special.
All right, Chambers.
All right. All right, for my second one, I'm going to go with another game I played as a youngin' from the PlayStation 2 era. We're going to go with Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was hard because I think the Gran Turismo series as a whole has quite a good soundtrack, like all of them. But this one I have like a bit of a like memory connection to because it was the first one I had, and it was very successful during the PS2 era. But yeah, Gran Turismo as a franchise is a franchise that you can tell, at least in the early days, was like really created by people who love cars and are part of a global car culture, and kind of see the automobile as like a beautiful piece of engineering that human beings have created, and that kind of sort of appreciation of that precision kind of ripples into many aspects of the game. And I think the soundtrack does that really well with its like jazzy, upbeat soundtrack. And this soundtrack specifically, and Gran Turismo 4 as well, have kind of like culturally impacted like music for like car culture or like car people or whatever. Like it isn't one of those soundtracks where there's certain songs that you could just throw on outside of playing the game and enjoy it actually. But I think of like doing these fucking time trials as like an 8-year-old and for like an hour, and finally hearing that song that I got gold in the time trial. And so yeah, there's some nostalgia factor for this pick for me, but I don't know. I think of the cultural impact it had on like music and like car culture, and I don't know. It's hard to think of many other games that had a weird impact like that on like some other hobby outside of gaming. But yeah, that's my second pick.
Dang, this is the game that the kid learned to race in real life by playing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I haven't watched that movie.
Why haven't you watched that movie, bro? You're such a Gran Turismo fan,
dude. Because I heard it sucks ass, and I kind of like I really enjoyed the Gran Turismo games as a kid, but I haven't owned a PlayStation console since I was like 15 or something. So
yeah.
I have an estranged relationship with the franchise, unfortunately.
Chambers, have you seen the guys on like the streamers that do They like play not Gran Turismo specifically, but they play like car games, and they like have like a wheel and like a gas pedal and stuff. And when they crash the car, they they act like they actually crashed, and they
they fly out of the
seat.
seat,
Yeah,
and go limp. Yes, I love those guys.
I feel like that's your energy.
I love that shit. Yeah, I've seen another guy who does a truck sim. He's like a Russian guy or something, and he's like smoking a cigarette. He'll like wave people down when he's like trying to make a turn and everything. And
it's pretty incredible.
It's funny as fuck. Yeah.
All right, Matt, let's hear it.
Oh, what did I have next? Well, I had Undertale, so I actually subbed Undertale into this once we talked less about licensing games, but just because I'm whatever it was amount of my original, I'm going to say it anyways. Fallout New Vegas, it's a shit ton of licensed music. I don't even really think about the general ambiance of the game, but there's no game that I can think of the licensed music fitting the game more than Fallout New Vegas specifically. Something about just walking around, the Mojave post-apocalyptic wasteland and just hearing, I got spurs that jingle jangle, and whatever is just so fucking iconic. And the music itself in general is just so listenable to, and outside of that as well, I mean, I think just in general too, the ambiance in the game when you're just walking around is good. But I mean, just the licensed music alone, and just like they curated that perfectly. And I can't think of another game where it's been curated remotely that well. So that's all I really have to say on that. But really quickly, because I might have to leave here actually a little bit before you guys. I have a hard stop. I'm going to go into my next one, my honorable mentions real quick. But probably one of the most important ones on here for me is Journey. I don't know if you had that on yours as well, Lucas.
I did not actually. Wow.
Journey is this just, for those that aren't familiar with Journey, it's like a very kind of meditative game. And the music is perfect to match that. The emotions is trying to elicit with that, and the feeling is trying to elicit out of you. It's this just sweeping, emotional, and also kind of minimalistic score. That is just produced by this incredible orchestra and just so insanely beautiful. And it's actually the first game soundtrack ever that was nominated for a Grammy in 2013, which is pretty insane.
Shit.
But
So
something
sick.
that stood out to me about this game so much in particular was just, the game is called Journey, and it truly is a journey. And something that stood out to me so much when you played the game the first time is just how much the music evolves with you as you're playing to kind of fit the moment or fit whatever. And I think that's kind of a given in any game. But for a game when there's no dialogue and no written anything in the game, you're just going through experiencing this literal journey. Also a journey where you meet a random person, which is a whole other thing. Go listen to our review on it. Incredible game. It truly just creates such a spiritual and cathartic experience, at least it was for me. I remember actually in my second playthrough, Lucas was sitting in Discord with me while I was playing with it, and I just wasn't saying anything, and he's just like, you good, bro? And I'm like, dude, I'm somewhere else right now. Don't talk to me.
Dang, you're making me want to throw all this on, Matt. I haven't listened to the Journey soundtrack
so
in a while.
good, and very good for just like reading, if you just want to have music while you're reading, or you're just decompressing after a day, or even just like if you need to zone in on work or something, and you don't want to get too upset because work sucks. Perfect music for that. And then really quickly, just a few honorable mentions from me. So many good games. Disco Elysium, incredible. Neon White, amazing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Papers,
Matt,
Please.
Real quick on that one. Neon White, I have been listening to the music of the group that actually composed the music for Neon White.
Oh, have
Machine
you?
Girl?
Okay. Machine Girl, yeah.
Really good.
Wait, Machine Girl made that soundtrack?
Yeah.
I didn't
Machine
realize
Girl,
that. That's sick.
which is incredible music to lift to, as I have learned.
Yeah.
Dude, I believe.
Especially
I've been
some of the more
I've been,
hardcore shit.
They have a lot of good DJ sets online. Check it
Yeah,
out.
I've been
they're
in
sick.
general just listening to the music when I work out too. But I remember you specifically called out Machine Girl when we were playing it, so I'll jump back into that.
Yeah.
What else do I got? Mouthwashing, very recent. Death Stranding for licensed. Alan Wake 2 for licensed. I think it's mostly licensed. There's some
Yeah, the Death
originals in
Stranding
there.
stuff's interesting, Matt, because it is like licensed, but it's kind of made specifically for the game. But
Yeah.
he's working with artists directly to have them make original songs for the game.
Yeah.
So it's kind of more like movie oriented. It's like more similar to like a movie, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
great soundtrack for sure.
And then I have Hades on here too, because I just feel like a badass playing Hades, and the music was a big part of that. So
Yeah, love
yeah,
it. Do you have
those
to
are
jump, Matt?
mine. I'll hang out as long as I can in case I have anything to comment on. But I got
All
like
right.
10 minutes in me.
For sure. I'm gonna go with my next pick, which I think I know it's not a draft, but I think I'm stealing this from Chambers, but it's gonna be Donkey Kong Country 2.
Oh, I figured you would take it if I did.
Yeah, I'm surprised it actually none of us, you hadn't picked it pretty early on, Chambers, but Donkey Kong Country 2, I'm going like a little older school with my picks, I think. I'm realizing, but it's kind of in the same vein of like Chrono Trigger, where it's just like this legendary soundtrack, but legendary soundtrack from the Super Nintendo era. But I think the best kind of coolest thing about Donkey Kong Country 2 is at the end of the day, like Chrono Trigger is trying to be like a very serious, like formal, like it's a very formal, serious attempt at like a big kind of important story driven RPG from, but like Donkey Kong Country 2 is like this kind of whimsical, cartoonish platformer. And David Wise, the composer, did not need to do what he did with the soundtrack for Donkey Kong
Didn't need
Country
to go
2.
this hard, bro.
He didn't, and like I think it's like the definition of like bro did not need to go this hard when he made that. Like it's that meme, but it's like it's the definition of that meme, because like you're playing this game, you're like probably like an hour in, you got through like the first zone and the second zone, now you're in the third zone. All of a sudden you're in a level called Bramble Scramble. And there's a song called Sticker Brush Symphony, which is just
Don't
one of
even
the most
talk
iconic.
to me about Bramble Scramble.
It's just the most iconic, one of the most iconic video game tracks ever made. It does not really need to exist on this level. Like the level is called Bramble Scramble, and you're just shooting yourself through barrels trying to dodge stuff. But the soundtrack is like this kind of heavenly, synthy, like melancholic, insane track that has no business being this good. And like you could find the homework version of this song that's like a 2-hour long edit on YouTube. Like you could find remixes of this song. You could you could find covers of it in so many different forms. People have sampled this track. Just for that track alone, it's up there. But not to mention like the boss music. He also did Aquatic Ambiance, which is from the first game, the first Donkey Kong Country game. And that is like a legendary nostalgia track that's been remixed. It's like the main, like if you're on TikTok, there's like a nostalgia song that people will use. It is Aquatic Ambiance. Like it's just a remix of that song. And not to mention Forest Interlude, one of the greatest tracks as well. I know Chambers, there's the homework edit of that one. I know Chambers is on that shit.
Dude, yeah. I'm when I'm in the fields.
Yeah, David Wise is just the GOAT. I mean, it's one of those things that is so unexpected, and I think everyone's really always enjoyed and loved the Donkey Kong Country soundtrack. But over the years, like it's just aged so well, and now you could find like all these retrospectives on it, like people asking David like, why did you what the hell were you on? Yeah, like how did you come up with this? Like did you feel the need to like do all this, and like what were your inspirations? And he's even gone on record saying like his inspirations came from like Phil Collins or like Russian composers. Like he had all these crazy influences he was drawing from, and he absolutely crushed. So I gotta give credit to Donkey Kong Country too.
Yeah, it's the soundtrack is good when that's probably what people know the game for best at this point.
Yeah, it is.
Even though it's a great game as well, but that's like what people think of when they think of Donkey Kong Country and Country 2.
Yes, Chambers, when you
Crazy.
told me like you listened to Donkey Kong Country 2 music on YouTube, and I know that you hadn't really played that game. I was like, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I was like,
dude, dang, I gotta play this game. This is good music.
Well, it sucks. You definitely won't enjoy the game as much as you have.
No,
the
I
music.
know.
But it is still, that game is still really great. And the Donkey Kong Country series 1, 2, and 3 on the Super Nintendo, genuinely fucking awesome platformers, in my opinion, like up there with any Mario platformer of the era, with better music. This is the crazy part.
Yeah.
So super underrated games, but I'm glad that the soundtracks are still legendary.
Banger. All right. Okay, I have 2 picks left. For my third pick, I'm gonna go with Mass Effect.
Oh, nice.
The whole
Mass Effect
trilogy
mentioned.
has good music, but literally from the moment you open up the game, it's incredible music. The like title songs is like straight out of like Blade Runner or whatever your favorite sci-fi film is. It
Dune.
it really it's really good at like
Star Wars.
Yeah, whatever. That's a fantasy film. That's not sci-fi.
No, but you're saying
But yes,
it's like
yes.
it's on par. It's in the Denis Villeneuve like.
Wait.
So,
Star Wars is fantasy, not sci-fi?
No, I don't consider. I would consider it fantasy more than science fiction.
I actually know where Chambers is coming from on that one. You're saying
It rocks my whole world.
yeah, because you're saying sci-fi is more like Dune or like
Correct.
like Blade Runner or like
yeah. It usually it uses like science to explore some sort of.
Whereas Star Wars just like follows the hero's journey.
Correct. Yeah, it's basically
No.
like a pirate samurai movie, but in space.
I have
Okay.
the genre defining feature for you guys on this one.
Okay.
In fantasy, like the power is with nature, and in sci-fi the power is with humanity.
I think that from a lot of sci-fi, yes, but I think that that's like there's probably a lot of sci-fi that falls outside of that definition of it.
No.
Chambers, he's not going to give it to you.
There. I mean, a lot of themes of a lot of science fiction or sci-fi horror is how powerful space is, how it does not
that's
care
true.
about
That's true.
how
No,
giant
I'm
and scary it is.
I'm saying in sci-fi, like the driving force is man, and in fantasy, the driving force is like nature.
Okay.
Because like the whole like every story is like man versus nature, nature versus like
Yeah.
that whole theory.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Okay.
Anyway, continue with your Mass Effect spiel. We interrupted.
Yeah, but I think like all of and also I don't include Star Wars with like what I'm saying about the soundtrack, because Star Wars is like an orchestral soundtrack, which is really awesome. But I shouted out Blade Runner specifically because of how beautiful that is as like an ambient soundtrack, and Mass Effect's soundtrack is much closer to that. There's a lot of upbeat songs as well in it, but most of the hits of this soundtrack are like really long, drawn out, synth based ambient tracks that really like give the emotion of like the vastness of space and the grandness of it. And they do a really good job at bringing the main theme song kind of back in like very intense moments, not just through the first game, but throughout the trilogy. There's a lot of emotional weight that it carries throughout the whole trilogy. I mean, I've talked a lot about how awesome this game is in a lot of episodes, but this soundtrack really does like punch up the epicness of this game. That we talk about how like big and epic like other AAA games were at this time, like fucking GTA 4 or Elden Ring, not Elden Ring,
God of War, Elden Ring, Death
Yeah.
Stranding.
Yeah, but Mass Effect is really like on that level, and its soundtrack is doing a lot of the lifting for that, for sure.
Yeah.
I actually consider Mass Effect in general to be one of my greatest just like missing spots in my gaming
Yeah,
catalog
same.
that I need
We
to jump
should
into at some
dive
point.
in when
I'd
we
be
have a
down.
free time.
Now that there's a remaster and everything, it's a lot more pleasant to play for someone like you guys. Because if you were gonna go back
hold up. Someone like us.
well, okay, I'm not okay. I'm not giving shade
I
to
know
you
what you're
guys
saying. I know
specifically.
what you're
I'm more
saying.
giving shade to the original game because some of the controls in that.
No, I've heard it's aged like shit, and it would for sure piss me off.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
it wouldn't piss me
bullshit.
off. I would simply adapt and overcome.
It would piss me off, and I would judge my review solely off the controls, like I did for
Classic Matt.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
let me
gotta
go.
go, boys.
Yeah, no worries, bro.
Have a good one, all. Everyone, look forward. We're gonna be reviewing Davey Reedon's Wanderer Stop next, and look forward to it. Have a good night, y'all. Peace.
Have a good night, Matt.
Peace.
Peace. Chambers. Now we could talk shit.
Yeah,
He's gone.
thank God that guy's gone.
Thank God he's gone. Am I right, boys? All right, I'll go. My number 4. I'm just gonna go with. I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna say people are gonna be upset at me. I'm just gonna go with old school RuneScape on this one, or just.
I'm not
RuneScape,
mad at
I
that
guess.
at all.
Yeah. Genuinely, seriously, a great, vast, very diverse video game soundtrack. This is an MMO, so it's gonna have like just hundreds and hundreds of tracks. But genuinely, like one of the most nostalgic, obviously, because the game's been around forever. I play RuneScape almost every day, even if it's just like getting in a little bit of AFK stuff on the side. But from whereas like most fantasy games would try and have like an epic orchestrated video game soundtrack. Think of like a World of Warcraft soundtrack is like almost all choirs and orchestra.
Yeah.
RuneScape is actually like synthy and lo-fi and like whimsical as well, in the same way like Donkey Kong Country 2 is, but at times very thoughtful and very slow. And like what's cool about the soundtrack is basically every quest, every city, every small micro zone in the game has its own unique soundtrack. So depending on the activity you're doing, depending on the quest that you're doing, you're going to have like a different vibe and a different mood that is like, really kind of handcrafted to fit. Like there's hundreds of quests and like hundreds of little dungeons and little corners of RuneScape, but like the way the game feels is like each quest feels like it's handcrafted by like a dungeon master, where it's like it can be silly or serious. It could be like strange and funny, but it ultimately feels handcrafted, as weird as it is to say. Whereas like a lot of quests in a lot of video games are just like humdrum. They're just like, go collect this, go bring it back, go kill that, and come back to me and turn in the quest. That's like what a lot of MMO stuff becomes. But with OSRS, each quest feels like just something like a funny thing that a guy put together, and like he wanted to like show his friends, and he like got to make a RuneScape quest, and also got to like decide what the soundtrack for that particular quest line was, and like this is gonna play in the boss room, and this is gonna play like when you're talking to this NPC. And I don't know, I just love it. I listen to the soundtrack like on YouTube playlists all the time. Like RuneScape lo-fi is like a big guilty pleasure. There's like RuneScape music to sleep to. There's just so many YouTube videos on stuff like that. But yeah, I'll jump into my honorable mentions after this. But I did want to I wanted to get the RuneScape lick in before I know I bring it up every week, but
it's a great soundtrack. I have very vocally criticized this game, and I love the soundtrack. I think
sick.
like it's almost like a digital Renaissance fair or something. That's like what I think of the soundtrack. Like and it definitely takes like every fantasy or like medieval themed video game always tries to be epic and everything. And this one really takes the whimsical, like you said, like kind of Renaissance fair, fun, upbeat, like not too serious vibe of a lot of other aspects of fantasy.
The interesting thing too about this game is like, because it has the old school aesthetic that'll never change because it's like core to the game. The music is in the same realm. Like the music has to be lo-fi still. Like the music can't like all of a sudden become some epic orchestrated thing. It has to be like really basic kind of like early 2000s attempts at like orchestrated music. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I find that so fascinating that like not only is the design space for the game have to fit like an early like a 2004 aesthetic, and like even when they make like a new menu, it has to look like it should have.
Yeah.
It has to look like it was made in 2004. It's the funniest shit ever. But the music also has to follow the same sort of like quote unquote aesthetics. So I think it's really just one of the most unique cases that could possibly exist, where like these composers that are making these OSRS tracks that came out last week had to act like they were in 2005 when they were composing this, which is like a totally unique setup compared to any other video game.
Yeah.
So anyway, what do you got, Chamber? Take us home.
Okay. So my final game, I'm leaving out a lot of games that have better soundtracks than ones I've listed, but I have to go with the ones that hit me in the feels. And last one is going to be Sid Meier's Civilization 4.
Nice.
Notably,
Baba Yetu.
yes. Notably, Matt talked about one of his games getting nominated for a Grammy. This is one who actually won a Grammy for it. Yes, it's title song Baba Yetu, which is like the Lord's Prayer in
Swahili,
some other
right?
language. I don't know. Google it. But that song is
Actually,
fucking beautiful.
Yeah. Actually, maybe listen to this song again.
Yeah, play that shit. But
oh yeah, Christopher Tin was the composer. It is Swahili for Our Father.
It's Swahili. Okay.
I heard this game. I'm not to flex. I actually heard this live at a performance one time.
Where?
My mom took us in high school to a thing called Video Games Live. It was like a road show of video game music. And like they would go to different cities and they would they would play video game music, and this was one of them, and it had like a full choir. This was in Portland.
Wow,
it was awesome.
Damn.
Yeah.
Shout out to Portland for that. Holy shit. Dang.
It was super sick.
Yeah, that song on its own is like amazing, and listening to it makes you feel like human beings can like come together and do something. So that on its own is the rest of the soundtrack could be dog shit, and like that song on its own would be enough for me, to be honest. But
you're just like, yep, this is it.
Yeah, but I actually did put tons of hours into this game. I think I started playing the Civ series with Civ 3, but Civ 4 I got like when it came out. I had like the CD-ROM or whatever, and this is a game that like very famously people will sit down on their computer and end up sitting there for 10 hours playing the game. And the soundtrack, the way it works for all of the Civilization games, is when you move through different eras of the of human society, from ancient civilization to modern or future civilization, the soundtrack changes with it. So it uses instruments from like the classical era when you're in the classical era.
So sick.
And yeah, that part's really cool. And a lot of the music in this one is kind of like, sounds like 90s world music or something, where it probably
Global Coffee
isn't.
Shop.
Yeah. It's probably not 100% historically or like culturally accurate to what it's trying to imitate, but still kind of slaps in its own way. So yeah, for that, Civilization 4 soundtrack makes me love humanity.
You know the aesthetic. I just said it right now, but like I said it jokingly, but you know the aesthetic that they're calling a global coffee shop.
Yeah,
where it's like early 2000s Starbucks, where it's like
it's like that second wave coffee kind of.
It's like Cost Plus World Market coded is like the best way.
Yeah,
I can phrase it.
yeah,
where like my parents' house kind of looked like that for a while when we were growing up, and it still kind of looks like that to this day in a way. But it's like that aesthetic where you just feel like humanity and globalism like succeeded in making us all like a united people somehow.
Yes,
that's
totally.
how I feel when I hear Baba Yetu.
Yeah,
like that's how I feel when like I think of Civ 4 and like the era when that game came out, where it's like, man, we just had so much hope for the humanity.
Oh, yeah, bro. And I think that like that it's funny, that game franchise kind of, you inherently have to take on that perspective of the world a little bit, that like 90s post Cold War, we're gonna figure it out.
We're gonna figure it out soon. World
Yeah,
peace is coming. It's
just
around the corner.
just show up and vote, and you'll do it.
Rock the vote.
Yeah, yeah. That's like kind of like built into like the Civ franchise, because in reality, like in the game, you nuke cities and like you raid poor like civilizations who are just less advanced than you. You know, a lot of like awful things, but like at the same time, like history is beautiful, and like we built the pyramids, and like that does something for us. In some way.
Oh man, we got to get back. We got to go back, Chambers.
Dude, back to 1995. Take me there, bro. I wasn't even alive yet.
Okay, great lists all around. I do want to shout out some of the games that some of the guys in the Discord had talked about early this morning.
Yeah,
I said I told the Discord channel that we were talking about video game soundtracks. Dragoon shouted out the World Ends With You soundtrack. Says he found that shit on Spotify recently, and it still fucking bangs. Riley said Zelda Ocarina of Time specifically is pretty peak, but he also shouted out Witcher 3, Doom 2016, and Doom Eternal, Skyrim, which hard to not mention that. Hotline Miami, super great pick right there. I do love that soundtrack, and Red Dead Redemption 2. And then Hylet shouted out Witcher 3 and of course Final Fantasy 7, which like man, was hard not to take that one, honestly.
Yeah.
And then Matty Boy, aka Zulu, mentioning Book of Spells. He mentioned one track from OSRS called Book of Spells, which actually is a great track, and also the Elwyn Forest theme in World of Warcraft, also a really great, really great soundtrack. I was actually listening. Sometimes I'll listen to World of Warcraft music to relax and study to on YouTube.
Really?
And oh yeah. There's just like a lot of ambient kind of like nature sounding forested stuff in World of Warcraft.
I've never heard any WoW music at all.
Okay, I'll send you a super incredible clip from the Night Elf starting zone after this. And then I will send you the boss music for the new Rat boss that came out last year in RuneScape. And you'll see how different they are.
Okay, fuck yeah.
And go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say a lot of the stuff that people were mentioning in our Discord were like stuff that when I was Googling like top 10 best soundtracks of video games, but like Ocarina of Time, I thought about putting that in, but I thought that really wasn't a big game in my life, so I feel guilty putting that in. Same with like Witcher 3. Great soundtracks in their own right, though.
Yeah, I agree. And just honorable mentions for me, like Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, both incredible banger soundtracks, super unique, very like just very silly, but just super interesting and cool. Like probably a soundtrack that'll never really get created again. And if anybody that tries to go that route is probably going to feel like an imitation of Banjo-Kazooie's very original sound. I do want to shout out just Zelda in general. My favorite personally is Majora's Mask, but followed by Ocarina of Time. Wind Waker has some of the best music in the series. It's just incredible stuff. And then shout out to Darren Korb, who does the composing for Supergiant and has done Hades and Transistor and Bastion. Just really great stuff. And then Hyper Light Drifter's composer, Disaster Piece, who also did the score for It Follows. Chambers, you remember that movie?
Oh, that's the same. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, the dude who did the score for It Follows also did the score for that game. So
wow, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, he's super sick. Very very interesting composer, and also Hyper Light Drifter is just a really really incredible game. And then Outer Wilds. Also,
that one's really good.
Yeah, that one's great because it's like Outer Wilds is trying to really blend like sci-fi themes with like banjos. Frontier like instruments like banjos and harmonicas, and like really, it's just one of the coolest blended genres ever. Because Outer Wilds is very much like sci-fi, but it also feels like it's very, very close to its theme of like exploring a frontier and like hanging with some buds. It's like in that way. Yeah.
It takes the like we're going out west, and then takes that to that same feeling, and brings it to space.
Yeah,
which is
but
really
you still haven't
dope.
beaten it.
No, dude, I haven't. I speed ran it too much, and I didn't read enough.
Dude, so you just don't know what's happening. Dude, it's gonna be so hard for you to go back if you.
I know. I realized I really fucked myself by doing that.
Yeah,
that is not the way to play the game. So
I think we should re-review that game. Matt really wants to re-review that game.
Okay,
maybe
I'll just
will,
restart
and you can
it if we do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and Disaster. I knew I was forgetting this. Disaster Piece, the Hyperlight Drifter guy. He also composed the music for Under the Silver Lake.
What? Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah,
wild.
so
Okay,
he's pretty
but
goated.
Did I hear you utter Final Fantasy at all?
No, I didn't. That's how fucking stacked everything was. It was either like, I mean, if I was going to pick one, it probably would have been Final Fantasy 6 or 7. But it's just so hard, man. Because like,
I know.
Chrono Trigger has to get picked over those. And like, I was trying to really diversify with what I picked here just because it's hard to it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, I had the same issue. Like, I really wanted to do Super Mario Galaxy, but I thought, I already have multiple games from that era. I thought
such a good soundtrack.
Honestly, any like Nintendo game, like Super Mario 64 is another one that has
Odyssey.
like a lot of classics. Yeah, Odyssey, like all of the mainline Mario games, pretty much. I had mentioned it before. Elden Ring, very epic soundtrack.
Yeah.
I never played it, but Persona 5 is pretty sick. That's all my shout outs.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, hopefully this episode got people to pause the episode and listen to some video game music while they were just like traveling.
Yeah, you got a
while
lot
they
to
were
listen to.
Yeah, you guys got a lot of recommendations from us, and I'm sure there's a million soundtracks that we forgot. So if we forgot anything, make sure you join our Discord and tell us what we forgot. You could find us at thanksforplaying.live. That is thanksforplaying.live. You could find our website and links to all of our social media accounts, including our Discord, where you can yell at us about how we forgot your favorite video game soundtrack. You could also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and you could subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're putting out a lot of really great clips on our TikTok and our Instagram accounts, so feel free to take a look at those and give them a like and give them a share, give them a comment. And this has been Thanks for Playing. Catch you next time.
Hey there, I'm Hugh from Podderation. If you liked today's episode, why not check out Tartan Tabletop, a D&D show as Scottish as it sounds. I won't terrify you with my attempt at a Scottish accent, but I can assure you that Tartan Tabletop is some of the funniest tabletop content you will hear all year. Find it wherever you get your podcast.